Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming MCS exams happening in February 2025. My name is Nick and I'm one of the lead tutors and evaluators for MCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. First things first, I'm going to teach you answering technique, and along with it, I will also highlight what you need to do with regards to time management, because if you practice our answering technique and master it, at the same time, you will master your time management as well. And after teaching you these two elements, I will take you through one of the mock exams which we have developed. To be precise, I'm going to take you through mock exam 1, which is our free mock exam, in which I'm going to highlight how to apply these answering and time management techniques in a practical manner, so that you'd get a better grasp of how to do these things in a practical sense. And let me quickly remind you of the upcoming webinars and workshops which we have scheduled for you. So the next webinar, exam prep, is happening on the 11th of January, which is Saturday, at the same time. And in this webinar, I will be taking you through examiner's comments with the intention of ensuring that you gain a good understanding of what's expected from you and what you need to do when conducting your preparations. And at the same time, I will also highlight what you need to do to develop a high level of confidence, to develop a high level of open-mindedness. And also, when we are conducting the fourth webinar, by that time you will receive the MCS exam results. There could be a set of students who have sat for the MCS exam in November 2024. So the results will be out this Thursday, and I hopefully there'd be students who'd be joining us who could not clear the MCS exam. And focused on these students, I will highlight common reasons which leads to a failure, and I will also explain what you need to do to avoid these failures when or avoid these issues when conducting your preparations focused on the upcoming MCS session happening in February 2024. And at the same webinar, I will also explain what you need to do to manage your stress levels, especially when attempting mock exams, because if you master this stress management technique, then you will be in a position to manage your stress levels in a successful manner at your real examination. So all these elements will be covered in the upcoming webinar, exam prep. And once we are done with the webinar series, we are kickstarting the workshop series. And in each workshop, I will be taking you through our mock exams, thereby focusing your attention towards questions taken from your F2, P2, and E2 syllabi. Myself as well as Jared will be conducting these workshops. And the final workshop, which happens 2 or 3 days before your real examination, I will be sharing last-minute tips with you to make sure that you gain a high level of confidence and to make sure that you walk into the exam with a high level of positivity. So all these webinars and workshops are conducted free of charge, and this is the best way to get in touch with us on a weekly basis. And this will help you keep tabs about your performance. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can get them addressed at each of these webinars and workshops, which are conducted every weekend. So make use of these free resources we offer and make sure that you keep tabs about your performance on a weekly basis. All right, so let's get into the technicalities. Let's try to understand what you need to get right with regards to developing high quality answers, or in other terms, what type of an answering technique you need to adhere to. So you need to think about a certain type of formatting at this examination. And if you get these elements right, you'd be in the good books of the marker. If so, it will be immensely beneficial for you, because when you make the marker's life easy, then you will get good marks at your examination. So when developing answers, you are supposed to utilize appropriate headings and subheadings. So for each subheading, for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading, which is in bold and underline format. And under each main heading, if you feel that you need to further fraction out your answer, then you can come up with subheadings as well. And the subheadings should be in bold format. So let me quickly tell you what I'm talking about. So let's look at this mock exam. This is mock exam 1, which is the free mock exam. If you look at the first requirement or the first section, there are 2 subtasks. So for each subtask, you need to develop a main heading. So in your answer, since there are 2 subtasks in section number 1, 2 main headings should appear, and each main heading should be in bold and underline format. And under each main heading, if you feel that you are supposed to come up with a subheading, you are welcome to do so. And the subheading should be in bold format. So each main heading should be in bold and underline format, and each subheading should be in bold format. Okay. And when developing your answers, you need to develop answers, or your final answer should be in paragraph format, and each paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 line sentences. Okay, so I'm going to teach you these things in depth in a little while based on your answering technique, because you are supposed to spend some time to develop something called an answer plan. So when developing the answer plan, based on the mark allocations, based on the weightages, you are supposed to determine how many points should appear under each subtask. And let's assume you decided to include 7 valid points under a certain subtask. So if your when developing your answer plan, if you decided to include 7 valid points, then in your final answer, you need to have 7 different paragraphs. Don't write your entire answer in one single paragraph. If so, the marker will find it extremely hard to figure out how many points you have mentioned within the answer. The marker will have to read through the entire answer in one go. So rather than being in the bad books of your marker, it's better to help your marker, because then if you stick to these guidelines, if you come up with a paragraph per answer point, the marker can easily understand how many points you have highlighted within your entire answer, and out of the points which you have highlighted, how many are accurate and how many are inaccurate. So marking becomes easy when you stick to this process. So based on the number of answer points you intend to include within each subtask, you need to come up with the same amount of paragraphs. So if you plan to include 7 valid points within a certain subtask, then you need to come up with 7 different paragraphs within your answer, and each paragraph should ideally consist of 2 to 4 line sentences. All right, then let's try to figure out how you should manage your time. So when it comes to managing your time, 1/3 of your time should be allocated towards reading the scenario and developing something called an answer plan, and 2/3 of your time should be allocated towards typing your answer. So in a simpler form, what you need to do is you need to allocate 5 minutes to read through the entire scenario. This includes reading through the reference material as well. And then you need to allocate something like 15 to 20 minutes to develop something called an answer plan or an answer structure. And the remaining time, which is 20 minutes, should be allocated towards expanding the answer plan. You'd gain a better understanding of all these elements in a little while, because I will highlight these things based on one of our mock exams. Then you'd gain a higher level of understanding of how to manage your time appropriately. So at this moment, what you need to remember is you need to allocate 5 minutes to read through the scenario and the reference material, then allocate 20 minutes to develop the answer plan, and the remaining 20 minutes should be allocated towards expanding the answer plan in paragraph form. And the expected typing speed is a minimum of 20 words per minute. So if your typing speed is not up to standard, you cannot pass this examination. So you need to really work on improving your typing speed. There's a lot of resources, free resources out there on the internet, so you can utilize them, or simply you can purchase a newspaper and start typing what is included within the newspaper on your own, thereby allocating 1 hour of your time towards improving your typing speed. So if on a daily basis, if you keep practicing your typing, then you'd be in a position to type 20 words per minute. If so, you won't run out of time at your real examination. And on top of that, I said that based on the weightages, you are supposed to determine mark allocations. So let's try to figure out what I'm talking about. Okay, so if you look at the first requirement, we are in section number 1, and under it, there are 2 subtasks, as I mentioned earlier. And subtask A carries a weightage of 60%, and subtask B carries a weightage of 40%. So based on these weightages, you can easily determine mark allocations on each subtask. So the total mark allocation for each task or each section is 37.5 marks. So the total mark allocation for each section or task is 37.5 marks, out of which 60% comes up to 22.5 marks. So for the first subtask, the mark allocation is 22.5 marks. And for the second subtask, the weightage is 40%. So 40% of 37.5 marks come up to 15 marks in total. So before you develop your answer plan, you are supposed to gain an understanding of mark allocations on a subtask by subtask basis. So there are 2 subtasks, and you have to look at the weightages. The weightages gives us an indication about mark allocations. So the total marks allocated for each section or each task is 37.5 marks. So 60% of 37.5 marks come out to 22.5 marks, and 40% of 37.5 come up to 15 marks in total. And once you know the mark allocations, you can easily determine how many points should appear, how many answer points should appear under each subtask. So each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. So in order to gain 22 marks, you need to have 7 to 11 valid points within your answer, which is developed for the first subtask. So the mark allocation based on the weightage for the first subtask is 22.5 marks. So simply put, to gain 22 marks, since each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks, you need to include 7 to 11 valid points within your answer. And looking at subtask B, based on the weightage, the mark allocation is 15. So again, each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. So in order to gain 15 marks, you need to come up with 5 to 7 valid points. So this is how you are supposed to develop your answers. This is how you are supposed to determine how many points should appear in your answer. When you stick to this methodology, you will never run out of time. When you stick to this methodology, you will be developing answers which are totally aligned with mark allocations. Therefore, your answers will not be too short or too long. Okay, so that's what you need to focus on. You are supposed to determine the mark allocation for each subtask based on the weightage provided. And once you know the mark allocations, then you can easily determine how many points should appear under each subtask when developing your answer plan. And do not spend time on formatting other than the type of formatting which I was talking about. You have to develop main headings in bold and underline format and subheadings in bold format. And then you are supposed to develop answers in paragraph form, and each paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 sentences, and based on aligned with the number of points which you intend to include within each subtask. You need to have the same amount of paragraphs. Other than that, you need not worry about formatting such as paragraph alignment and whatnot. You won't get any marks for these elements. And remember, it's always about the quality of the points. So I've seen tutors out there talking about a word limit or a word count based on the weightages provided. That is not relevant to your examination. Why is this the case? Because as I've mentioned throughout this webinar series, the CIMA examiner is trying to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So it's as if you are receiving an email from your boss. At office, when you receive an email, will you worry about a word count? You won't. Will your boss worry about a word count? He or she won't. So the boss, when he or she shares an email with you, asks you to do a good job. So the boss is looking at quality. So the same methodology will be adhered to by the markers. When marking your paper, they will look at the quality of your answer. So that is exactly why you need to develop answers which are totally aligned with mark allocations rather than worrying about a word limit or a word count, because it makes absolutely no sense. Just because you write lengthy answers, you won't get any marks unless and otherwise your answer is aligned with the requirement and the scenario's information. So that's the answering technique. So let's look at the answer planning technique in a step-by-step process. So first things first, you have to spend time to read through the scenario, thereby taking 5 minutes of your time. So we are in section number 1, as I mentioned earlier. So it's as if you are receiving an email from your finance manager and there's some information which your senior finance manager is sharing with you. And this reference material as well, which gives you additional information about what appears within your scenario. Just like in your corporate environments, you'd receive an email with attachments which carry additional information. So a similar approach can be seen within MCS exams as well. You'd see reference material. So you have to read through the entire scenario and the reference material within 5 minutes. Again, if your reading speed is not up to standard, you have to focus your attention towards improving your skill set. So with this in mind, the only way to improve your reading skill is to keep reading. So if your reading speed is not up to standard, allocate 1 hour of your time on a daily basis and start reading a book or a newspaper or whatever, with the intention of improving your reading speed, because you are operating in a time pressured environment. So you have to dedicate 5 minutes of, you only have 5 minutes of your time to dedicate towards reading the entire scenario as well as the reference material. So that's your first step. After reading through the scenario, the second step is to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a concise manner or in a simpler form. So let's look at what I'm talking about. So let's look at a lengthy subtask. So let's look at the subtask of section B, subtask A. First, advise the board on the approach that should be taken to successfully negotiate the acquisition of eco-insulate innovations with the other two owners of eco-insulate innovations for full acquisition and the possible issues that may arise during the process. So this is an extremely long requirement. When you are under exam stress, when you are operating in a time pressured environment, you won't gain a good understanding of what this requirement is if you have to read through these 2 sentences over and over. So rather than wasting a lot of time trying to understand the requirement, your job should be to reiterate this requirement in your own words in a concise manner. So how are you supposed to do it? So you are supposed to advise the board on the approach that should be taken to successfully negotiate the acquisition of eco-insulate innovations with the two owners of eco-insulate innovations for full acquisition. So that's the first part of your question. And there's a second part as well, and the possible issues that may arise during this process. So all in all, the examiner is asking you as to what you need to focus on when conducting negotiations with this company, eco-insulate innovations, and its owners, because we are trying to acquire this company. So you are supposed to reiterate this requirement in your own words in a concise manner. That's exactly what you can see here. Advise on the approach to successfully negotiate the acquisition. All right. So when you have a simplified requirement, you can easily understand what you are expected to achieve when developing your answers. And on top of that, whilst developing the answer plan, let's assume that you're halfway through the answer plan, you can always refer back to a simplified requirement and easily understand whether you are headed in the correct direction or not, whether your answer is aligned with the requirement at hand. So in order to make your life easy, what you're supposed to do is, after reading through the scenario, reiterate the requirement in your own words in a concise manner. So this is an extremely long requirement, which when you are operating under exam conditions, you'd be exposed to a lot of issues when you have to go through 2 lines, so 2 sentences, which carries a lot of information. So in order to make your life easy, simplify the requirement in your own words in a concise manner. And the second requirement again is quite lengthy. Secondly, assume we acquire a majority stake, say 80% in eco-insulate innovations. Explain how this investment should be accounted for in Shinyglas Group's consolidated financial statements. So I've simplified it as how the investment should be accounted when I'm reiterating the requirement in my own words in a concise manner. So you are expected to do so as well. So that's your second step. And once you have gained a good understanding of the requirement, then come up with the headings and subheadings. And as I mentioned earlier, per subtask, you need to come up with a main heading, and it should be in bold and underlined format. And you are welcome to utilize subheadings as and when necessary. And once you have come up with the headings and subheadings, you are supposed to develop something called the answer plan or the answer structure, or this is the answer skeleton. And when developing this answer plan, a maximum of 20 minutes should be allocated to develop an answer plan covering all subtasks. So when you are developing the answer plan, let's assume you are in section number 2 and you are developing the answer plan. When developing the answer plan, you should allocate 20 minutes of your time to develop answer plans for both subtasks which appear within section number 2. In certain sections, you will see 3 subtasks. Then you need to allocate 20 minutes of your time to develop answer plans concerning all 3 subtasks. So you are not expected to develop the answer plan for the first subtask, then spend time to type it or expand your answer plan in paragraph form, then move on to the second subtask, develop the answer plan, then focus your attention towards expanding the answer plan. If you do so, you will run out of time. Instead, what you're supposed to do is simply focus your attention on developing answer plans focused on both subtasks within 20 minutes. Because once you have developed the answer plan, once you have spent some time to think what you should include within the answer, once you have spent some time to work on your application skills, trying to figure out whether you can bring in some information from the pre-scene, and trying to figure out whether you have come up with an answer which is totally aligned with the requirement and the scenario's information. Once you're satisfied with your answer, your next step is to simply focus your attention towards typing the answer. So when it comes to typing the answer, it's simply a matter of expanding the answer plan within 20 minutes. So you are supposed to expand the answer plan, taking 20 minutes of your time, and 20 minutes again should be allocated towards expanding the answer plan of the entire section. So there are 2 subtasks in here. So when expanding the answer plan within 20 minutes, you have to expand both the answer plans concerning the 2 subtasks in paragraph form. And when doing so, you have to develop a paragraph per answer point. So for instance, if you plan to include 10 valid points for subtask A, then in your final answer, which is in paragraph form, there should be 10 different paragraphs. And for subtask B, if you plan to include 7 valid points, then in your final answer, there should be 7 different paragraphs. So that's your answering technique. And as I mentioned earlier, you are supposed to develop answers based on the weightages provided. Based on the weightages, you are supposed to determine mark allocations. And based on mark allocations, you can easily determine how many points should appear under each subtask, because as I mentioned earlier, each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. And when developing this answer plan, do it on the answer screen itself. Do not develop your answer plan on the scratch pad. Why am I asking you not to do this? Especially given the fact that you might miss out on certain points which you intended to include within the answer, which appears within your scratch pad, but when looking at your fully fledged answer or your final answer, which appears on the answer screen, you might miss out on 1 or 2 points. So for instance, let's assume for subtask A, you came up with 12, you decided to include 12 valid points, and in your answer plan, you have also included 12 valid points. But let's assume that you develop the answer plan on the scratch pad. And when shifting between the scratch pad and your answer screen, you might miss out on 1 or 2 points. So decided to include 12 points, but in your final answer, there will be only 10 paragraphs. These things could happen because you are under exam stress. You are working in a time pressured environment. So when you have decided to include 12 points, but in your final answer, only 10 paragraphs or 10 points appear, you end up losing marks unnecessarily. So in order to make sure that you expand your answer plan, thereby covering the entire answer plan, covering all the points which you intended to include within the answer, do up the answer plan within the answer screen itself. You need not utilize the scratch pad, because when you're shifting between two screens, it exposes you to complexities. So your objective when operating in a time pressured environment is to get rid of all types of inefficiencies as much as possible. So when developing the answer plan, do it on the answer screen. Don't use a scratch pad. And once you have an answer plan at your disposal, when it comes to typing your answer, your life becomes easy, because it's simply a matter of expanding each valid point in a paragraph form. So these are the steps which you need to adhere to. Although I'm asking you to develop answer plans within 20 minutes and expand the answer plan within 20 minutes, when you're trying to do it for the first time, you will definitely run out of time. Take it from me, you won't be able to develop answer plans within 20 minutes. You will take 35 to 40 minutes to develop the answer plan, but that's all right. You need some practice. With practice, you will master this technique. If so, you will easily manage your time, successfully manage your time at your real examination. You will be in a position to develop answer plans within 20 minutes. But in order to achieve this, as I mentioned earlier, you need to keep practicing these techniques over and over when practicing each of our 6 mock exams. Because if you implement this process across the 6 mock exams, each mock exam carries 4 sections, just like in your real exam. So 4 sections into 6 comes up to 24 sections in total. So if you stick to this answering and time management technique across the 6 mock exams, you will practice this technique 24 times over. That is enough and more practice for you to get it right at your real examination. So these are the steps which you need to adhere to when it comes to developing answer plans. All right, so before we move on to the next part, in which I'm going to take you through one of our mock exams and based on its question, explain how to implement these answering and time management techniques in a practical sense, let me quickly mention what we offer at TCS. So I'm on the MCS page. If you're yet to create a free user account and check out our free content, click on this button and create a free user account. Once you have created a free user account, you'd see this button which reads as Access Dashboard. Click on it and go to My Courses. In front of MCS Free, there's an Access Content button. Click on it, and via the Student Dashboard, you'd gain access to the videos which are available under the free content, which are the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops which we conduct. So you can gain access to these recorded versions of the webinars and workshops. Then you'd also gain access to the pre-seen mind map and the answer plan of mock exam 1 under study material. And under the mocks tab, you will gain access to the question as well as the answers of mock exam 1, which is our free mock exam. And under the exams tab, you have the opportunity of practicing mock exam 1 under exam conditions within TCS's exam platform. So we have developed an exam platform which is the exact replica to the Pearson VUE system on which you'd attempt your real examination. So it's best that you attempt all your mock exams under real conditions. When you are doing so, it gives you the opportunity to master your answering and time management techniques, because as I've mentioned earlier, it takes you need to practice these elements to master your answering and time management techniques. And on top of that, when attempting each mock exam under exam conditions, you will be exposed to exam stress. I want you to be exposed to or experience stressful situations, because when conducting your preparations, if you are exposed to stressful situations, you'd know what to do to overcome them. If so, you will successfully manage your stress levels at your real examination as well, because in next week's webinar, I'm going to teach you stress management techniques. So after learning answering and time management technique tonight, you are expected to implement them. See for yourself whether you are successful in implementing them by attempting mock exam 1, a free mock exam. This is a full 3-hour mock exam under exam conditions via our exam platform. So these are the resources which are offered free of charge. So create a user account and enjoy the resources. And if you want to invest on our paid content, click on this button and check our sample material before you do so. And if you're yet to join our MCS WhatsApp discussion forum, click on this button and join it, because via this group, we'll keep you informed about the weekly webinars and workshops, the commencement dates and times. And on top of that, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always raise them. Myself and Jared are always there to help you guys out. And we will also be sharing a lot of free resources via this group. So if you're yet to join it, click on this button and join it. So talking about what we offer 2 packages, the value pack and the premium pack. The value pack is designed for those who are coming through the CIMA general route. So these are the type of students who have completed their OTQ exams. So you have completed your E2, F2, and P2 OTQs. So because of that, you are already conversant with theories. You need not spend time to learn theory because you have already done so. You simply need to work on your application skills. So focused on these type of students, we have come up with a set of resources. Under the value pack, you'd gain access to the recordings of all webinars and workshops which we conduct on a weekly basis. You will also gain access to 6 mock exams with suggested answers. So on top of the free mock exam, which is mock exam 1, you will gain access to 5 additional mocks along with the suggested answers. And we have made sure to cover all E2, F2, and P2 syllabus elements when developing these 6 mock exams. Because if you want to cover the entire syllabus, you cannot do so by developing just 2 or 3 mocks. It definitely takes 6 mock exams. If you refer to past exam variants, for each sitting, you would have seen 6 different variants. Why is this the case? Because if you are to cover the entire syllabus, it takes you 6 mocks. So that's exactly why we are sticking to a similar methodology. We have made sure to cover all syllabus elements via these 6 mock exams. You will also gain access to pre-scene analysis videos. And once you have watched this set of videos, you will gain an in-depth understanding of what appears within your pre-scene document. You'd also gain access to the annotated pre-scene, the industry and financial analysis slides. Let me quickly show you what these documents look like. So, we have come up with the same pre-scene document which you have access to. Additionally, we have come up with tutor annotations, and via these annotations, we have effectively summarized the entire pre-scene in an easily understandable manner. And on top of that, we have also highlighted possible exam scenarios which can be tested at your exam based on the hints shared by the examiner via the pre-scene document. And aligned with these possible exam scenarios, we have also highlighted examinable syllabus elements as well. And based on these syllabus elements, we have covering these syllabus elements we have developed our 6 mock exams. So once you gain your hands on the annotated pre-scene, you need not spend a lot of time to conduct your own research on the pre-scene. Instead, simply go through these annotations to gain a good understanding of what appears within your pre-scene document. And you'd also gain access to a set of industry analysis slides, and our industry analysis slides are divided into 4 main elements. I took you through certain set of slides in the previous webinar, which was conducted last week, in which I focused your attention towards pre-scene analysis, and I also conducted an industry analysis. So in the first part, we have defined your industry, and in the second and third parts, we have highlighted the industry trends and industry challenges, and based on these elements, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real examination. And at the very end, concerning a real life company, we have explained what a real life company goes through within your chosen industry. And we have also evaluated the financial statements which appear towards the very end of your financial statements, not just your company's financial statements, but its closest competitors' financial statements as well. So we have evaluated the SOPL in depth, yet keeping things simple to make sure that you gain a good understanding of what appears within each financial statement. Also, we have evaluated the SOFP, and at the very end, we have conducted a ratio analysis concerning your company and its closest competitor, so that you gain a better understanding of the financial standing of your company. So these are the resources which are included under the value pack. You'd also gain access to the top 10 likely issue slides, which indicate the most probable scenarios which can be tested at your real exam. This comes with a case study familiarization kit. So once you go through this kit, within 10 to 15 minutes, you stand a chance to gain a good understanding about the technicalities behind your MCS exam. You will also gain access to a tutor managed live chat and OTQ revision cards. So as I mentioned earlier, the value pack is intended for those who had completed their OTQs. So after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you cannot remember a certain syllabus element, or you don't have a clear understanding of a certain syllabus element, simply refer to our OTQ revision cards. In a jiffy, you are in a position to brush up your knowledge concerning different theoretical elements. You need not waste time to go through your past notes or bulky study texts. Simply refer to our OTQ revision cards. So the value pack is priced at £249. And talking about the premium pack is designed for those who are coming through the exemption route, such as FLP and Master's Gateway. And on top of that, this is also designed for those who had failed the MCS exam previously. So both these sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theoretical knowledge and application skills. So we have developed an additional set of resources with the intention of bridging your gaps in theory knowledge and issues with application. So in addition to what appears under the value pack, you'd also gain access to the online mock exam platform, on which you can attempt all 6 mock exams under exam conditions. This is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. And if you are in a position to master these 3 techniques at your examination, you will come up with well-structured answers. You will never run out of time, and you will successfully overcome stressful situations. And in a little while, you'd see what our mock exam platform looks like. And you'd also receive one-on-one tutor feedback on the last 3 mock exams, namely mocks 4, 5, and 6. Let me quickly show you the type of feedback we offer at TCS. So as you can see, we have evaluated each point in depth with the intention of highlighting your issues, because if you do not understand your shortcomings, you cannot take steps to overcome these shortcomings. So this is the best way to gain a good understanding of what's wrong with your answers, what you need to improve. And when conducting your revision, you are expected to do something called redevelop answer plans. You will understand what I'm talking about when I've taught you answering technique in depth. So when redeveloping answer plans, you can take steps to avoid your shortcomings. So you can see the type of feedback which we offer at TCS. And at the very end, we have also indicated at the very end, we have also indicated the mark allocations along with a success rate. So by looking at the success rate, you can easily understand the subtasks in which your performance was substandard. So rather than, when conducting your revision, rather than redeveloping the answer plans focused on the entire mock exam, you are simply supposed to redevelop answer plans focused on the subtasks which are highlighted in yellow. By doing so, you are primarily focusing your attention towards your shortcomings, with the intention of overcoming your shortcomings when redeveloping answer plans. And once you have your fresh answer plans at your disposal, compare your answer plans to TCS's answer plans to gain a better understanding of how to further improve the quality of your answers. So this is the type of feedback you'd receive under the premium pack. And you'd also gain access to 20 masterclasses. In a little while, I'm going to take you through one of our mock exams, its question and the answer. When doing so, I'm going to show to you how we conduct masterclasses. So we have developed these masterclasses concerning mocks 2 to 6, because different elements of mock number 1 will be covered within this webinar, as well as the workshops which we have scheduled for you. So from mock 2 onwards, we have developed these master classes. So each of our mock exams carry 4 sections, just like in your real exam. So 4 sections into 5 mocks come up to 20 sections in total. So focused on each section, we have developed these 20 master classes. And we have developed these with 3 objectives in mind. Objective number 1 is to teach you the logic behind each answer. Objective 2 is to teach you the relevant theoretical component covered within each mock exam. And objective number 3 is to highlight application. So if you have gaps in theory knowledge and application, the best way, the easiest way to overcome these issues is to watch these master classes, because you don't have enough time to go through theoretical elements on your own. Even if you go through theoretical elements on your own, you cannot figure out how to work on your application skills, because at this examination, it's not a matter of replicating or parroting theories. Instead, you need to utilize your theoretical knowledge and at the same time work on application skills. You need to develop answers which are totally aligned with your company's internals and externals, and at the same time develop answers which are totally aligned with the scenarios information. So by watching these master classes, you can easily learn theory as well as application. And once you have gained access to all this content, you will pass for sure, hence the pass guarantee. So if you invest on the premium pack and end up failing, you will gain access to the premium content in your subsequent sitting free of charge. However, in order to claim the pass guarantee, you have to complete these 3 requirements. You have to complete all mock exams. If not, you are testing your luck at your real exam. Just because you invest on the premium pack and attempt just 2 or 3 mocks, you won't pass your examination. Instead, in order to make sure that you cover all syllabus elements, in order to make sure that you are conversant with how each syllabus element is tested at your exam, you have to complete all 6 mock exams. And on top of that, when attempting each mock exam, you are not supposed to refer to the answer plans, the suggested answers, or the master classes. Instead, you have to attempt each mock exam on your own, because that's the best way to understand your shortcomings. Because if you go through the answers, you know what to include within the answer, and then you won't understand what your shortcomings are. I want you to be exposed to stressful situations, because it's best that you are exposed to stressful situations when conducting your preparations rather than at your real examination. And you have to meet the performance criteria of 40% or higher, focused on the last 3 mock exams, focused on mocks 4, 5, and 6. We have come up with this performance criteria to make sure that you do a serious job when attempting the last 3 mock exams, especially given the fact that you are receiving tutor feedback for them. And once you have completed all 3 requirements, you will pass for sure. That's why we are offering a pass guarantee for the premium package. So the premium pack is priced at £799, which can be paid in 2 installments of £399 each, or you can opt to pay in full and save £100. If so, the price is just £699. So by clicking on either of these buttons, you can invest on your preferred package. All right, so let me quickly also mention what you need to achieve within this week by taking you through our MCS study plan, which can be accessed via the website itself. So according to the study plan, we are in week number 3. I hope you would have already gone through the pre-seen relevant information, which was intended to be covered within week number 2. So within this week, this is the most hectic week if you look at our study plan, because in almost all the weeks, you are supposed to allocate just 9 hours of study time per week. That's exactly what you can see in here. But within this week, you are supposed to allocate 12 hours of study time. Why is this the case? Because you are supposed to attempt 2 mock exams. So you need to allocate 3 additional hours to attempt 2 mock exams within this week. So after you have learned answering and time management techniques, you are supposed to put your knowledge into practice by attempting mock number 1 via our exam platform. You will definitely screw things up. You will run out of time. You'd be exposed to stressful situations. You will be exposed to brain freeze. I want you guys to experience these things. Then you'd know what you need to do to overcome these issues when conducting your preparations, and how serious you need to think about attempting the mock exams. So once you are exposed to all these negativities, I want you to attempt mock number 2 via the exam platform. Once you have attempted mock exam 2, then watch the 4 master classes to learn theory and improve application. And once you have learned theory and application, once you have learned how to structure your answer, test your knowledge by redeveloping answer plans focused on mock exam 2. So you are not simply attempting a mock exam, you are also taking steps to conduct your revision focused on the weekly mock exam. So you are supposed to attempt mock number 2. This is when you are supposed to practice your answering and time management techniques. You are trying to give your best, but you won't come up with a high quality answer. You will definitely run out of time. You will be exposed to inefficiencies. But by watching the master classes, you will gain a good understanding of how you should have structured your answers, what you should have included within your answers, what type of theoretical elements you should have brought in when developing your answer, and what you need to do with regards to application. So once you have learned theory and application, you are not supposed to stop your work. You are supposed to test for yourself whether you have gained something by watching these master classes. So with that in mind, you are supposed to redevelop answer plans focused on the weekly mock exam. Once you have redeveloped the answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to the answer plans provided by TCS to gain a good understanding of what type of shortcomings you still have and what you need to do to overcome these shortcomings. So within this week, you are supposed to focus your attention primarily towards mock exam 2, and at the same time, you are supposed to attempt mock exam 1. This is the most hectic week, but next week onwards, you simply need to focus your attention towards one single mock exam, therefore allocating just 9 hours of study time per week. So if you're yet to start your preparations, it's high time you do so. I do not want you guys to wait until the last 2 weeks to start preparations, because you will have time to attempt all mock exams, but you won't have time to conduct your revision. It's essential that you conduct revision. You cannot pass this examination just because you attempt mock exams. After attempting mock exams, you need to spend a considerable amount of time to conduct your revision. So that's what you need to achieve within the upcoming week. So that's what we offer. If you are planning to sit for the exams happening in Feb, I want you guys to book the exam right now so that you commit yourself, and after booking the exam, invest on your preferred package. All right, so let's move on to the discussion of mock number 1. So, when conducting this discussion, I will explain how to implement answering and time management techniques in a practical sense. So before I take you through the mock exam, let me quickly remind you of the steps which you need to adhere to when developing answers. So first things first, you are supposed to read the scenario, allocating 5 minutes of your time. Then the second step is to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a concise manner. Then focus your attention towards developing headings and subheadings. After you are done with these technicalities, you have to start developing the answer plan, which will take 20 minutes of your time. And once you have developed the answer plan, the remaining 20 minutes should be allocated towards expanding the answer plan expanding the answer plan in paragraph form. Okay, so your mock exam. So when you walk into your real examination, you will see a similar platform. So we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have developed a platform which is an exact replica of the Pearson VUE system on which you'd attempt your real examination. So once you click on begin, you cannot stop or pause the examination. You have to keep moving forward until your time runs out. So the total time allocation is 3 hours, and your examination is divided into 4 sections, and the time allocation for each section is 45 minutes. So once you click on begin, you'd be directed to section number 1 of your real exam. So these are screenshots taken from the exam platform, with regards to mock exam 1, which we have developed. So you'd see the section number, and on top you'd also see the timer, which runs out. And there are 4 buttons. There's a calculator button, a scratch pad, reference material, and pre-scene. So this is your question or your scenario. So whilst reading through your scenario, you need to gain access to the reference material. So when trying to do so, click on this button and a pop-up would appear, and within this pop-up, you'd have access to all the necessary information. By clicking on the pre-seen document, pre-seen button, you'd gain access to the pre-seen document again as a pop-up. And if you want to jot something down on the scratch pad, click on this button, then you'd gain access to the scratch pad, and you have a calculator as well. All these 4 buttons will result in a pop-up onto the right side of your screen. And once you click on next, you'd be directed to your answer screen. And again, within the answer screen, you have the same 4 set of buttons: the calculator, scratch pad, reference material, and the pre-seen. And as I mentioned earlier, when developing your answer plan, do it on the answer screen itself. Don't utilize the scratch pad. And if you want to go back to the question, you can do so by clicking on the previous button, and you can go back to the question, but you need not actually do it. You need not go back to the requirement or the scenario, because by clicking on the reference material and pre-seen buttons, you will gain access to the same type of information. So this is what happens. So let's assume you want to gain access to reference material whilst being on the answer screen. Simply click on the reference material button, and the reference material will pop up on the answer screen itself. So you need not go back. And on top of that, if you want to gain access to the task or the requirement or the scenario, simply click on the pre-seen button, and under the pre-seen button, you'd see a separate tab for the pre-seen as well as a separate tab for the task. So under this task, you'd see the entire scenario. So you need not actually go back to your question or your scenario. All information appears within your answer screen itself. So it makes your life easy to gain access to the reference material, to gain access to the task, as well as to gain access to your pre-seen document. So when developing the answer plan, do it on the answer screen itself. And once you have developed the answer plan, utilizing 20 minutes of your time, then you should focus your attention towards expanding the answer plan in paragraph form. And once you're done with it, if you complete all these activities within 40 minutes, you can click on submit answer. And if so, you'd be directed to section number 2. Or if your time runs out, then you would be automatically directed to section number 2. And once you are in section number 2, there is no previous button, which indicates the fact that you cannot go back to section number 1. So when trying to manage your time, you should not think in terms of 3 hours. Instead, you need to consider 4 baskets which carry 45 minutes, a time allocation of 45 minutes each. So you have to develop an answering and time management technique focused on 4 slots of 45 minutes each. Because once you are in section number 2, you can't go back to section number 1. And the same methodology repeats across the entire mock examination. So that's how your exam platform works. This is how the Pearson VUE system works as well. And this is how our own TCS's exam platform works. All right, so let's move on to the discussion of the mock exam. So I'm going to direct your attention towards section number 2, because a question which was taken from section number 1, we covered it in the previous sessions, November 2024 sessions answering technique webinar. So because of that, I'm going to direct your attention towards section number 2. So the time allocation is 45 minutes. You receive the following email from your senior finance manager, and the subject goes as strategic acquisition. So, we are going to acquire another company. Let's see what all the information is about. The board has officially decided to expand our market reach in the energy efficient building materials sector. Instead of starting a new product line from scratch, the board has chosen to acquire an existing company that specializes in advanced solar technologies and integrate it into Shinyglas Group. Please refer to board meeting minutes I have attached for more details. So let's gain access to the additional details. This is an extract taken from board minutes. The board has identified Eco Insulate Innovations, a leading producer of sustainable insulation material from recycled fibers, as a prime acquisition target. So we are trying to acquire a company which is into manufacturing sustainable insulation material, and the name of this organization or this company is Eco Insulate Innovations. Eco Insulate sells its products to a growing commercial and residential customer base in Templand. The board agrees this acquisition will complement Shinyglas's existing product line, significantly enhancing energy efficiency and sustainability solutions for buildings. So we are well poised to offer better energy efficiency and sustainability if we go ahead with this acquisition, which will definitely satisfy our customers, and this will help us increase our market share and revenues. Eco Insulate's innovative use of recycled fibers aligns with market demands for eco-friendly building materials, adding considerable value to Shinyglas's offerings. Owned and managed by its two founders. So Eco Insulate is owned and managed by two individuals. Eco Insulate has built a robust supply chain and established itself as a leader in the green building sector. The acquisition is expected to leverage Shinyglas's capabilities by integrating advanced insulation solutions into its portfolio, creating synergies in product development and marketing between Shinyglas windows and Eco Insulate's material. So we are poised to benefit from significant synergies. Eco Insulate's proprietary technology enhances insulation performance and ensures recyclability at the end of the product life cycle. This strong focus on sustainability has attracted interest from both residential and commercial builders. So we are going to gain access to B2B clients as well as B2C clients seeking to exceed energy efficiency standards, making it a valuable addition to Shinyglas's portfolio. So this is the company which we are going to acquire, and the board thinks that we are exposed to a lot of synergies if we go ahead with this acquisition drive. All right, so Alex Rutherford, our finance director, wants to meet with us both today to discuss matters pertaining to the acquisition. I am currently preparing the investment appraisal and would appreciate if you could prepare some briefing notes covering the following. So I'm not going to take you through both these subtasks due to time constraints. I'm simply going to direct your attention towards the first subtask. So let's try to figure out what this is. First, advise the board on the approach that we should take to successfully negotiate this acquisition of Eco Insulate Innovations with the two owners of Eco Insulate Innovations for a full acquisition and the possible issues that may arise during this process. So that is your first step. Your first step is to read through the scenario, allocating 5 minutes of your time. So we are done with it. Then the second step is to reiterate each requirement in your own words, in a concise manner. So you are supposed to simplify this requirement in your own words as the second step. So that's exactly what you can see here. Advice on the approach to successfully negotiate the acquisition. All right. And what is your third step? You have to develop headings and subheadings. So you can come up with a main heading which goes as negotiation, which is in bold and underlined format, or you can come up with an extended heading as well. It's up to you. And if you need, you can come up with subheadings. So, you are supposed to utilize your knowledge pertaining to negotiation when developing this answer. And in your E2 syllabus, when conducting a negotiation, you need to focus your attention towards 4 main elements. So for each element, you can come up with a subheading which is in bold format. Okay. Then you have to direct your attention towards developing the answer plan. So before you develop the answer plan, you are supposed to understand how many points you should include within this subtask based on the weightages provided. So according to the weightage is 50%. So 50% of 37.5 marks come up to 18.7 marks. So, or simply put, 19 marks in total. So each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. So based on it, you can easily determine how many points you should include for this under this answer for this subtask. So let's look at how you should structure your answer. So I'm going to direct your attention towards the answer plan, which we have developed for section number 2. And based on it, I'm going to explain how you should tackle this type of a question. So there's a main heading, which is in bold and underlined format. And I've come up with 2 different subheadings which are in bold format, thereby highlighting what we need to achieve before carrying out negotiations and during negotiations. So these elements with regards to how to conduct negotiations in an effective manner appear within your E2 syllabus. So you need to utilize your theoretical knowledge when developing the answer. If not, you will come up with a half-hearted answer. So it's best to stick to theoretical tools, theoretical concepts when developing your answers as and when necessary. And these elements are covered in your E2 syllabus, because if I direct your attention towards the syllabus elements covered within our mock exams, if you go to E2, there are various different syllabus elements covered, and you can clearly see that there's negotiation, which falls under managing people. So this question tests your knowledge about negotiation. And as per what we have learned under your E2 syllabus, there are 4 main elements which you need to get right. The first step is to spend some time for preparation. Before conducting a negotiation, you need to prepare. So at this stage, the theoretical concept states that we should establish what both sides wish to accomplish. We are trying to find a common ground. If we are to find a common ground, we need to clearly identify what we want to achieve via the negotiation process. And at the same time, it's best to figure out what eco-insulate will want to achieve by conducting this negotiation process. So that is the first step, the preparation stage. And after the preparation stage, the negotiations will kickstart. And in the negotiation process, there are 3 steps: the opening stage, the bargaining stage, and the closing stage. So in the opening stage, this is the stage in which we are supposed to express our interest and present our opening bid. I will explain these things in depth later. I'm simply taking you through the syllabus elements. So in the opening stage, this is when we tell eco-insulate innovations about what we intend to achieve as a company. And in the bargaining stage, this is when we are trying to achieve a win-win situation, where we are trying to satisfy both ourselves as well as eco-insulate innovations. And in this stage, either of the parties might have to go for some type of compromise as well. So the best objective is to achieve a win-win scenario where both us and eco-insulate win, but not all negotiations will be fruitful in this manner. We might have to be exposed to win-lose situation, and either of the parties might have to compromise as well. That's the bargaining stage. And once we finalize everything at the bargaining stage, we have to close everything. Closing is a situation where we sign the necessary contracts and whatnot. So if we decide to go ahead with this acquisition, we have to sign the contracts. And on the other hand, if we decide not to go ahead with this acquisition, then we can forget about these dealings. All right. So that's your theoretical knowledge being tested. But as I've mentioned earlier, as well as in this webinar, you are supposed to work on your application skills. So you need to relate to the information at hand to develop high quality answers. So let's look at what you need to get right at the preparation stage. So as I mentioned earlier, at the preparation stage, we are supposed to establish what both sides wish to accomplish with the intention of finding a common ground. So we need to understand what we try to achieve via this negotiation and what eco-insulate might want to achieve via the same negotiation process. So with this in mind, with the intention of understanding what us as well as eco-insulate innovations wants to achieve, we should conduct a thorough due diligence. And the main objective of conducting this due diligence is to determine the value of the business, value of eco-insulate innovations, because when trying to acquire a company, we need to have a good understanding of the business's value. So when trying to determine the value of the business, we should not only look at financial statements of the company or the financial situation of the company, we should also look at non-financial elements as well. So what type of non-financial elements am I talking about? It's best to gain an understanding of the type of customers eco-insulate deals with, particularly focusing on its major customers, And it's best that if we can gain an understanding of the percentage of revenue generated by each major customer. And on top of that, it's best to gain a good understanding of the current relationships between Eco-Insulate Innovations and its set of customers. And it's best to gain an understanding of the contracts Eco-Insulate Innovations and its customers as well as connected stakeholders had signed with the intention of avoiding unnecessary legal issues if we go ahead with this acquisition. So in order to avoid legal issues, we have to go through the contracts of Eco-Insulate Innovations between the company and its connected stakeholders. And on top of that, it's best that we gain a good understanding of how this company operates, its value system and whatnot. So it's best to gain a good understanding of its vision, mission, values, and at the same time, it's good to gain a good understanding of how it manages its workforce, what type of employees are working within this company, what type of leadership is there, because we have to, after the if we go ahead with this acquisition, if these negotiations become successful, after acquiring this company, if we suddenly find out that the culture of Eco-Insulate Innovations is totally different to ours, the leadership is totally different to ours, to what we do or how we operate, then we'd have to face a lot of hiccups. So in order to avoid these hiccups, we need to gain access to these type of non-financial data, and it's prudent to gain access to the type of risks faced by this company to gain and the way in which the company's management intends to manage different types of risks. So it's best that we gain access to something like the risk report of Eco-Insulate Innovations to make sure that we don't encounter any hiccups if this acquisition drive becomes successful. So these type of financial and non-financial elements or information should be gained when conducting this due diligence. However, when doing this, we will be definitely exposed to these type of issues because as per your requirement, you are supposed to highlight the type of issues we might encounter when conducting this negotiation process. So focused on each element, I've highlighted the issues. So Eco-Insulate is owned by two individuals and managed by these two same individuals. So it's a privately held entity. So because of that, this company's information will not be publicly available, especially the financial statements as well as non-financial information. And on top of that, management of this company may not be willing to disclose this type of confidential information as well. So it might be tricky to gain access to this financial and non-financial information. And, we have to, although this is the case, we have to try our best to gain some type of an understanding of what the company is up to. And after conducting our own due diligence, we should arrange for a meeting with the management and shareholders of Eco-Insulate Innovations. So that's what we are supposed to do before the negotiation. And during the negotiation, the first step is to focus your attention towards the opening stage. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the stage in which we are supposed to express our interest and present our opening bid. So the opening bid is the bid which we place to acquire this company. So let's assume after conducting our due diligence, we figured out that this company is worth 100 million pounds. Okay, so we cannot say, all right, I'm going to pay you 100 million. Your pre-sin is in dollar terms. So we cannot simply present our opening bid as $100 million. If we find out that the actual value of the company is 100 million, our opening bid should be something lesser than the actual value, something like $70 million. Why lesser amount? Because definitely Eco-Insulate will try to push up the purchase price. So if we start at 100 pounds or $100, we'd have to push up the price to $110 or $120 million, which is going to be a cost, an unnecessary cost for us. So in order to ensure that we agree upon a purchase price which is beneficial for both us and Eco-Insulate Innovations, if possible, then as our opening bid, we have to charge or quote a lesser price. So if our value, if when conducting our due diligence, if we figured out that the value of the business is going to be $100 million, our opening bid should be something like $70 million. So the opening bid should be a value lower than the benefit we anticipate from the acquisition. And we also need to specify how we will settle this price. So we will say 70 million, and we need to say, okay, we are going to pay this 70 million in cash, or we should also mention the fact that if you are deciding to go for non-cash consideration, such as a share option, a share-to-share offer, then all this information should be declared at the opening stage as our opening bid. And what type of issues might we encounter at this stage? The shareholders might refuse to sell their shareholding in full or in part. Our existing shareholders might refuse to sell their shares. And on top of that, Eco-Insulate's shareholders might refuse to sell their stake of the company in full or in part. And on top of that, they will definitely ask for an exaggerated price. So when we say 70 million, they might say, no, we need 150 million. So whenever there is an acquisition going on, each party will come up with an exaggerated price, especially the company which is going to be acquired. And if they ask for a share exchange, we have to keep our shareholders informed and seek their approval, because if our shareholders don't agree for a share-to-share offer, then we cannot go ahead with these parts. Okay, so that's what happens at the opening stage. That is when we are presenting our opening bid. And after we have presented our opening bid, bargaining commences. And at this stage, both parties discuss to achieve a mutually beneficial agreement. So this is when Eco-Insulate will come up with their own valuations. When we say 70 million, they might say 120 million and whatnot. And when we say that we want to purchase your company for cash, they might opt for a share-to-share offer and whatnot. So there's going to be a lot of conflicts and a lot of negotiation happening, a lot of bargaining happening. And as I mentioned earlier, at this stage, the best outcome is considered as a win-win outcome where both parties win. But, we can't achieve a situation like that in almost all negotiations, because some party will have to compromise. So the issues we might face at this stage is the fact that it's possible that shareholders request a price that exceeds our valuation. So our valuation might be 100 million, but the shareholders of Eco-Insulate might ask for 120 million or whatnot. And if that is the case, we can come up with alternative solutions or alternative proposals, which is to go for a deferred or contingent consideration. So we can defer the payment rather than paying 120 million upfront. We can defer the payment across an year or 6 months or whatever, or we can go for a contingent consideration. This is a situation where we can say, okay, look here, we are going to pay you this amount if our sales increases by this percentage, or if our market share increases by this percentage. So we can come up with targets, and once we achieve these targets, we can release the funds. If not, we can stick to a valuation which is below the valuation presented by Eco-Insulate Innovations. And if the price significantly exceeds a fair market price, we should not go ahead with this acquisition. So after conducting our due diligence, if we figure out that the value of the business is 100 million, and if these guys are asking for 150 million, then we should not go ahead with the acquisition, because when acquiring a company, we should acquire it at the fair market price. So assuming the fact that we decide on, or we finalize the bargaining process, then the fourth step is the closing stage. And if in this stage, if both parties reach a consensus, we have to finalize legal procedures tied to an acquisition drive. So as I mentioned earlier, at this examination, your theoretical knowledge as well as application skills are tested. So if you could not remember how to conduct a negotiation process, then you wouldn't have gotten full marks for this type of a question. So you should utilize your theoretical knowledge, but it's not all about theory. After including the relevant theoretical concept, you need to then focus your attention towards application skills. So when focusing on application, you have to make sure to develop an answer which is totally aligned with the scenario at hand. And there's a bit of practical thinking involved as well, because all information did not appear within your scenario. Especially when highlighting the issues, I explained certain practical elements which you need to consider. So likewise, you need to have a good balance between your theoretical knowledge and application skills. So that's exactly why you need to attempt all 6 mock exams to make sure that you are conversant with how each syllabus element is tested at your exam. And by gaining access to these master classes, to these answer plans and the 20 master classes, just like how you learned how to tackle this type of a question, you will learn theory, covering all syllabus elements, and at the same time significantly improve your application skills via our master classes. Okay, so that's how you should tackle this. So I've stuck to the same steps, and once you have developed the answer plan, your next step is to expand the answer plan in paragraph form. So when doing so, let me quickly show you how to do this. So when doing so, you need to develop answers. So your final answer should look like this, which is in paragraph form. And for each valid point, you need to develop a paragraph per answer point. So that's exactly what you can see within this suggested answer. And in order to do so, you need to allocate, in order to type out your fully fledged answer, you need to allocate 20 minutes of your time. All right. So although as I mentioned earlier, although I'm, asking you to develop an answer plan within 20 minutes, you will definitely run out of time when you are implementing this for the first time. However, across the 6 mock exams, when you keep repeating these techniques over and over, you will master these techniques, thereby being in a position to structure your answers properly at your real exam, and at the same time manage your time without any hiccups. All right, so I invite you guys to practice this answering and time management technique, which you just learned by attempting mock number 1 on our exam platform. And I showed you how to do it via our student dashboard. All right, so I'm happy to say that we achieved a pass rate of 95% for the MCS exams, which were conducted in August 2024. And, most students who stuck to our study plan and practiced the answering and time management techniques across the 6 mock exams were extremely successful in the first sitting itself at their real examination, because you need not worry about different theoretical elements being tested at the exam which were not covered within the mocks, because you are attempting 6 mock exams and we have made sure to cover all syllabus elements across the 6 mocks. So you need not worry about syllabus elements. Everything will be covered, and you simply need to focus your attention towards sticking to our study plan, which is to attempt the weekly mock exam and then conduct your revision focused on the same weekly mock exam. If you do so, you'd be extremely comfortable at your real examination. All right, so having said that, I'm going to open up the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you can switch on your mic and talk, or drop a message via our chat. I'm going to pause the recording. All right, folks. So thank you very much for those questions. I hope I addressed everything, and I hope you gained something out of this session. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. Visit our website and click on the contact area, and then drop your message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you within office hours via email. And you can also email us at info@study@tcs.com or WhatsApp us on this number. And I invite you to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because the recorded versions of these weekly webinars and workshops will be uploaded to our YouTube handle. And on top of that, via TikTok, you will gain access to a set of videos, which is a good mind map of the entire pre-scene. So on your way to office, on a daily basis. Keep watching these set of TikTok videos to constantly keep yourself reminded about what appears within the pre-seen document. So having said that, it brings us to the end of today's session. So thank you very much for joining in. And I expect you guys to attempt mock exam 1 and 2 within this week. And when attempting each of these mock exams, even if you run out of time, even if you encounter hiccups, simply force yourselves to keep practicing the answering and time management techniques, because by the time you are done with the 6 mock exams, you will gain a good understanding of how to develop well-structured answers, and at the same time you will definitely have the capability of sticking to the answering technique. Therefore, you won't ever run out of time at your real examination. So these couple of weeks are going to be a bit tough, because you will struggle with your answering and time management techniques, but keep moving forward, keep pushing forward. If so, you'll be extremely successful at your real exam. So I hope to see you guys next week, because in next week's webinar, I'm going to teach you the most important element is I'm going to take you through the examiner's comments. I'm going to tell you how to overcome common reasons which leads to failure, and at the same time teach you how to manage your stress levels, because from next week onwards, from mock number 3 onwards, on top of answering and time management techniques, you are supposed to practice stress management techniques as well. I don't want to overburden you guys with a third technique. Simply get your bearings with the first 2 techniques when attempting the first 2 mock exams, and next week onwards, you'd also have to start practicing stress management techniques. So to learn all these things, make sure to attend next week's webinar without fail. So thank you very much for joining. I'll see you guys next week. Take care.